and welcome to our session, Selling to the Government. Today, you'll find out how a local entrepreneur leveraged her ingenuity and Idaho resources to begin selling to the government. My name is Karen Appelgren. I'm with the Idaho Department of Commerce. I'm the Business Retention and Expansion Program Manager. Today, I have with me Sandy Vertis. Sandy is President and Principal Land Use Planner at Vertis. Sandy has over 40 years of experience in public outreach. And in 2007, after years in the public sector, Sandy and her husband, Gary, launched a landscape architecture land use planning firm called E2 Planning and Design. In 2011, they expanded their services to include civil engineering and changed the name to Vertis, which is Latin for green. Gary passed away in 2015, and Sandy became the sole owner of the company. And since she's taken over, the company has expanded to 14 states west of the Mississippi, including Alaska and Hawaii. And the company has been awarded over 150 federal and state projects. I also have with us today Lori Manning. Lori Manning serves the state of Idaho as the PTAC Program Director to support small businesses in their endeavor to be awarded federal, state, and local vendor contracts. Lori provides leadership and management of the Idaho Procurement Assistance Centers, including strategic planning, development of resources, management of personnel, control of budgets, and evaluation of program outputs. Currently, the PTAC was responsible for $327 million of government contracting flowing into Idaho with the current PTAC client base. I also have with us today Stacey Francis. Stacey Francis is from Idaho National Laboratories. She's the INL Small Business Program Manager. Stacey Francis is located in Idaho Falls, and she's responsible for targeting, shaping, and retaining small businesses in support of the diverse mission areas of the laboratory. INL is one of the Department of Energy's 10 multi-program national laboratories. The lab provides national leadership in the areas of nuclear energy, national security, and sustainable energy research. Stacey's depth of experience in marketing, local small business, and communicating with a variety of internal and external audiences has fostered a successful small business program at INL. Stacey received the Department of Energy Secretarial Award for Facility Management Contractor Small Business Program Manager of the Year for fiscal year 2015. INL received the Laboratory Director's Award for fiscal year 2017. So I have a very highly competent group of women here today, and we are excited to jump right in. Sandy, I was so excited to hear about how your company has expanded to 14 states and you've been awarded over 150 federal and state projects. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey into federal and state contracting?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for the intro. I appreciate it, Karen. So I'm Sandy Young, and I'm the president and principal planner here at Vertis. We started in 2007, as Karen mentioned, and started as just land use planning and landscape architecture. That was our background, our bailiwick, and it's what we were comfortable with. And because we'd been in the public sector, we had a lot of clientele, or we were just well known in this area. So we were able to start our little business and run along happily, husband, wife. And then we hired one or two over the next few years. And by 2011, it became clear that we could expand more into the landscape architecture and engineering and planning realm. So hired an engineer, teamed up with another landscape architect, started growing, and then really focused on growth and started looking to PTAC. They were holding at that time, like they do now, the once a year events where we're invited to meet others, to meet vendors, people like Stacey who are looking for small businesses. And I want to say it was probably maybe about 2011. And again, I'd been in public sector, never done anything with looking to government for help to grow a small business. So this was a whole new world for me. and for Gary. And we were in Boise, and there was a young woman standing on the stage. She was Small Business of the Year, and she had launched a garage door opener company and just had great success with it. I wish I could remember who she was, but I was so inspired by this young woman who stood on this stage and told her story and was able to just inspire the rest of us. And I remember turning to Gary and saying, "That's going to be me one of these days." And he's like, "Yeah, no doubt."
And it is you now. It is you. That's why you're here, to tell your story.
Yes. So there's that inspiration that we all get when we speak to, or we hear others speak, or we speak to others. So it was a moment that I won't forget, and it was very instrumental in propelling me to get out and to market more. So market, I apply for the SBA's Woman-Owned Business Program, and I'm accepted. And then I applied for the 8A program, and I was not accepted. I wasn't formally rejected, but they wanted more information. And honestly, it took about 4 years to get from point A to point B. I don't have the minority status, so my social and economic disadvantage was being a woman in engineering. And we weren't into construction yet, so it was just the engineering aspect of it. So my app was in, pending, and then Gary contracted cancer and died a short time later. And what that did was pushed me into under the economic threshold so that I could qualify for the program. So 5 months after he passed away, I was accepted. And the really super exciting and amazing part of that is back then the SBA counted your retirement as part of your net worth. And that has now changed, but I was 2 months from being 59 and a half at that time. I would not have qualified if it would have went 2 months longer. So I make it into the program, and I have this whole different sense of self because I don't have someone waiting at home for me, right? I'm a single woman now. Buy a new car, hit the road, start marketing. Everywhere I could drive, I marketed. Wow. And the first couple of times, I can remember being down in Utah, a contracting officer asked me, "But do you do construction?" "Nope, we're just engineers. We engineer it. We can do landscape architecture. Come back when you do construction." So it took only 2 times. On the third time, I'm like, "You bet we do, all day long." Came back to work and told the engineers, we got a project. We got a sole source project in construction. They're like, "We don't do construction." I'm like, "Well, we do now. You're all smart people. Figure it out." They figured it out. And it was McNary Dam that we actually got that project at. And there's no engineering involved. We were successful at that time. And I say this to Stacey because I know she can appreciate it. That small business specialist, James Glynn, said, "You better not mess this up. You mess this up and you won't see any more core projects." So he put the fear of God in me, which was good.
The pressure was on to perform.
Yeah. And then I put the fear of God in everybody here. So at that time, I want to say we had about 8 employees in this is 2016. It took me a full year to get my first federal project. And so 2016, we have 40 employees now. And as you stated, over 150 federal and just a few state projects, but mostly all federal. So it has been amazingly successful. Of course, I attribute it all to my team. I market, they produce. So I bring it back. They've got to take it from there. I'm from Alaska and spent most of my life there. So I have a lot of connections there. And we do have an office, a bona fide office there. And those connections also helped in that I have formed 2 joint ventures up there and then one in Spokane. And 2 of those are with construction companies. One's with an engineering firm. And boy, just mentored me. And just what we've learned in the past 5 years has just been amazing. So here we are. We have opened this year a masonry restoration division and also fire and life safety. So now we're doing inspections at dams on the Snake and the Columbia River. And I hired a retired fire marshal who wanted to come on. And on the masonry side, someone who'd been in the business many years. And those two are just knocking it out of the park for us. So,
Well, you're knocking it out of the park, and I love your can-do attitude. What courage you showed to just say, sure, we can do construction and then make it happen.
it was so hard. It was so hard. It's that whole fake it till you make it, just really believing in yourself. And then having to present that to your financial institution, your bonding agent. I think also what might have given me a leg up at that time was I'm older. So I had more of a financial track record. I wasn't just a contractor starting out, but already had this small engineering firm and then kind of launch into that. I don't know what all worked, but it's worked. And I absolutely love it. I'm 65 now and people say, you're going to retire? And I'm like, no way. I'm going to ride this thing out. We got an extra year in 8A program because of COVID. And actually COVID has benefited us in that many of our construction projects, it's cleared the building. So we're able to go in and get the work done. We're not working nights. We're not working around people. The earthquake in Alaska in November of 2018 gave us a very large sole source, almost $4 million project that cleared that building, not the earthquake, but COVID. We got in, we got it done, and it was hugely successful. So.
Well, it's nice that there's a ray of sunshine in the pandemic here. And I was intrigued when you said that you knew nothing about government contracting, but you got help from PTAC. So, Lori, can you tell us how does an entrepreneur get started working with you, and does it cost anything? And just give us a little more information about your program, please.
Sure. So the Idaho PTAC spends time helping our clients gain and understand the knowledge of how federal contracting and state contracting works. So they start by signing up to be a client for us. We are supported through the DLA initiative, Defense Logistics Agency. And so we're based on a grant. And this means that offers free services for the local businesses here in Idaho. And they have to be registered in Idaho to work with the Idaho PTAC, but there is no cost. And so what we do is we will help people go from A to Z, start to finish, on getting registered and all the little nuances of understanding the lingo and what they call the FAR, which is the Federal Acquisitions Regulations and the Bible, if you will, of government contracting. And so we try to help people take it in and absorb it and be able to come alongside them and support them as they are trying to write their first solicitation or their 100th solicitation, helping them get contracting officers and know how to communicate appropriately and fulfill those contracts as they get them. And it's been very successful. In the last 2 years, the Idaho PTAC has gone from about $116 million being influxed in the state with our client base to over $327 million this year. So, I mean, very exciting to see the growth we've done in the last 2 years and the impact that has on not only our business owners, but the communities, the state, the tax, the whole thing. It affects the entire economic structure of our state.
That is so exciting. And, I know Sandy's business is in North Idaho, but you're based in Boise. So how does that work? Do you have any regional offices or?
We do. We have offices in Coeur d'Alene, which is around where Sandy is. And then we have an office also in Eastern Idaho near INL with, we share an office area there with the SBDC. And so we really try to partner. We intend to expand. Our goal is to have another 2 more offices brought in the next year, just because we've tripled our output in such a short amount of time. I need more people to help me be able to accommodate the growth that we're achieving, if you will. And so, yes, our offices are spread out. But as far as Sandy, I mean, she didn't have an office up there with her when we started. It was actually Lee Belton and some of the folks here in Boise that were able to really support her long distance, and they would work back and forth, and now we're a Zoom world. So we feel very connected. It doesn't matter where you are. But Sandy and Lee and different ones with PTAC and her company did this prior to our Zoom experience, if you will. And I'm really proud of what she has accomplished as a business, both as a representation of women-owned business and entrepreneurs, but also as a young company that has been able to achieve such success with government contracting.
Very exciting. And thanks for supporting Sandy and the other entrepreneurs you work with. And Sandy, I had a question because we have Stacey Francis from the INL Small Business Contracting Program here. Have you thought about working with INL at all?
I have thought about it, and we have actually been very interested in it about the past 4 or 5 years. I've just never gotten to that step of getting in there and getting registered, and I would love to. It's right here at home, so to speak, in our state, and I think the solicitations they have would fit nicely with what we do here every day.
Well, thanks. So, Stacey, can you tell us a little bit about your work with small businesses and maybe some of the contracting opportunities that INL has right now or perhaps even in the future?
Sure. Thanks, Karen. We do have a lot of contracting opportunities at the National Laboratory. We have an annual procurement volume of around $600 million, if not a little bit more. And within that volume comes a wide variety and very diverse opportunities. So at the Idaho National Laboratory, we buy office supplies, just like every other company. We buy those consumables, but we also have a large portion of our budget go towards service contracts. So those engineering services, technical support services, those kind of things. So if a company is interested in doing business with us, the first thing they need to do is get registered in the System for Awards Management, that's SAM.gov. And that is a federal government system, and it can be kind of complicated. And so our partners at PTAC are wonderful for helping small businesses navigate that system. It's not an easy system, but Lee and Lori and the crew over there, they are excellent resources to help complete that initial registration because it can be frustrating. But once that's done, it opens you up to the whole world of federal contracting, not just Idaho National Laboratory, but the whole world of federal contracting. So it's really an important piece of a marketing strategy for a small business that wants to get into federal contracting. Once that's completed, then they need to register in the INL's vendor portal. And that's an easy URL. It's vendor.inl.gov. And that's a pretty simple registration. What that does is put them into our local system. And I guess I should preface by any company that wants to do business with the lab right now is required to be in the System for Awards Management. So that SAM registration really is key. Then do the INL vendor portal registration. And then I ask companies to send me their line card, their capability statement. So I can then match them with the appropriate technical person inside the laboratory who can evaluate if we have a need for the goods or services that they're supplying.
So you work closely with PTAC, both of you, and closely with the entrepreneur to help them. Does a business have to be so many years in business to be considered for government contracts?
No, nope, that's not a requirement. We do have a focus on small businesses as a federal government contractor. I do have small business goals that I try and achieve every year. My overall small business goal is 5%, 51% overall small business. And then within that, we look at the socioeconomic classifications, the small disadvantaged business, the 8A business, the woman-owned small business, the historically underutilized business, the hub zone, and then the service disabled veteran-owned businesses. So those socioeconomic classifications help. They're not necessarily a leg up by falling into one of those categories, but they do help us meet our contractual obligations.
Well, that's exciting that you're looking to fulfill 51% of your contract work with Idaho companies. So this isn't.
Karen,
Sorry,
that's small businesses.
small businesses, sorry.
30%, but 30% is targeted for Idaho companies. So it's not the 51, but 30% is targeted for Idaho specific.
So what a great opportunity. And I think so many businesses that I've worked with just don't think about expanding their customer base by looking at selling to the government. I think there is this, if they've thought about it at all, entrepreneurs are a little overwhelmed, but it sounds like today we've got the resources to make this happen. And Sandy, you're living proof that anyone can do it. And
Anyone.
it's just been a delight to talk with all of you today. Are there any last pieces of advice that you can give to our audience about business in general or government contracting? And we'll go around.
Okay, if I could go first, thank you. So I had brought up that McNary project and James Glenn being the small business specialist. And I'll never forget him saying, you know why I gave you that first sole source? And I'm like, why? Because you were pesky, but you weren't annoying. I'm like, awesome. So market. Even when I can remember walking into rooms with contracting officers and thinking, oh, this is like going to be so bad. But you just get through it. And honestly, I just want to say, like, as women, isn't that what we've done our whole lives? Raising kids, being in that family setting, you do what you have to do. And it's one foot in front of the other. And then all of a sudden things opened up. And I do want to say thank you so much to Lee Belton, who held my hand and walked me through over the phone so much of the SAM registration. At the beginning, we were just bugging the heck out of him, and he was fantastic with his help. That was before Lori's time. And now she's there, and Beth Freeman is there, and it's just such a great crew. So I'm appreciative of that. And yeah, that's my plug, and just can't thank my team enough, because again, they're the ones that are doing all the work in the trenches. They're amazing.
Great. And Stacey and Lori, do you have any words of wisdom to give our audience today?
I would say, Karen, that the biggest thing is people need to just call us. They need to reach out to the PTAC, go to our website, idahoptac.org, and get signed up to be a client. It doesn't take a lot of effort to get signed up so that we can then help you for free, get capability statements and marketing statements pulled together so you can give the right things over to Stacey at INL and other agencies. And we can help refer you into some of these folks to be able to help and get that sam.gov under control, because it is stressful sometimes. But, we work very closely with all of our state agencies as well as federal agencies. So we are happy to help any business owner that wants to get started.
Wonderful. And Stacey, what can you share with the audience today?
Your first federal contract is going to be your hardest to get. That first one is, like Sandy said, being persistent but not pesky is key, because we get hit by a lot of people every day wanting to crack that door as well. So the first one's the hardest. Once you get in, performance is key. You have to really deliver on the product and what you're offering. But once you get in that door, as Sandy can attest, it can be pretty lucrative and can be very fulfilling for business owners. So be persistent, but don't be pesky, and just keep trying.
Well, that's wonderful advice. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here today, sharing your wisdom, your experiences. And thank you for those of you who are watching. And we wish you all the best success with your small business.